If you've ever been told you weren't good enough, that your dreams were too small, or that your quiet life was a disappointment, then you know the ache I carried for 15 years. My name is Hannah Wells, and I was the family's designated failure. While my sister collected Ivy League degrees and six-figure job offers, I taught art to second graders. My parents measured success in stock portfolios and square footage. I measured it in the light in a child's eyes when they created something they were proud of. But in my family's world, that light was invisible. This is the story of how a single envelope, delivered at my lowest moment, proved that the quietest person in the room is often the most powerful. If you believe that true worth isn't measured by a paycheck, then you're in the right place. Please take a second to hit that subscribe button and join our community. I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment and say hello. The Wells family penthouse perched on the 68th floor, a glass and steel kingdom overlooking Central Park. Every morning, I'd watch my parents, Richard and Diana, sip their Ethiopian pour-over from delicate china, their conversation a symphony of stock tickers and social climbing. The Mona Lisa original above the fireplace, yes, the real one, cost more than I would make in 2 lifetimes as a public school art teacher. Chloe's graduation party from Yale Law was the social event of the season. The invitation arrived on paper, so thick it felt like a slab of marble. Celebrating Chloe's extraordinary achievement, it read in embossed silver script. At the bottom, in my mother's flawless handwriting, was a postscript. Hannah, do try to wear something appropriate. I chose a simple emerald green dress from a consignment shop. It was the color of growth, of life. Chloe would be in custom-designed silver, the color of mirrors and cold, hard surfaces. The ballroom of the plaza was a whirl of crystal, champagne, and cultivated elegance. 200 of New York's elite floated through the room, their laughter as sharp and brittle as the champagne flutes in their hands. I stood near a towering ice sculpture that was slowly melting, feeling a strange kinship with it. My father, Richard, tapped his gold pen against his champagne flute. The room fell silent. My studio apartment in Queens had water stains on the ceiling that looked like forgotten continents and a radiator that sang the songs of the damned every winter. While my sister, Chloe, carried Birkin bags that cost more than my annual rent, I hauled tempera paints and construction paper in a canvas tote I'd painted with daisies during my 1 semester at art school. The contrast wasn't subtle, and my parents made sure everyone knew it. Hannah teaches at PS 47. My mother would tell her friends at the country club, her voice dropping to a confidential whisper, as if disclosing a congenital disease. Chloe just made partner at her law firm. The comparisons always came in pairs, like diamonds and dust. But here's the secret they never cared to learn. I loved my life. Every morning, 23 tiny humans would barrel into my classroom, their faces lighting up when they saw the day's project. I wasn't just teaching them to mix colors. I was teaching them to communicate joy, fear, and hope. Their parents, immigrants, single mothers, fathers working 3 jobs, would thank me with tears in their eyes, their gratitude a currency my family would never understand. My parents never asked about my work. They never saw the awards gathering dust in my desk drawer or the letters from parents saying I'd saved their child's love of learning. To them, success was a headline, a corner office, a 7-figure bonus. It was a language I refused to speak, and for that, I was exiled to the silent outskirts of the family. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his voice echoing with the warmth of a closing bell on the stock exchange. We are here tonight to celebrate a singular success in the Wells family. He raised his glass toward Chloe, who stood bathed in a spotlight of adoration. My daughter, the Yale Law graduate, the future Supreme Court Justice. Singular. The word hit me with the force of a physical blow. I was no longer a footnote. I had been erased from the narrative entirely. My mother worked the room, a socialite shark in a Chanel suit. Chloe starting at Covington and Burling. She trilled to a senator's wife. Then, her eyes flicking to me, she added, "Oh, and that's Hannah. She teaches." The pause before teaches was a canyon filled with every unspoken disappointment. A woman dripping in diamonds turned to me. And what grade do you teach, dear? Before I could answer, my mother smoothly interjected, elementary. It's very nurturing. The woman's smile became a mask of pity. How lovely that you found something simple. My phone buzzed in my clutch. An unknown number. The text was a lifeline thrown into a stormy sea. Don't leave early tonight. Your grandfather knew your worth. I looked up, my heart hammering. Across the crowded room, a man in impeccably tailored charcoal suit met my gaze. He was older, with silver hair and an aura of unshakable calm. He gave a nearly imperceptible nod. My father was back at the microphone, his face flushed with pride and expensive scotch. And now for the real surprise of the evening. Chloe, success deserves rewards. He pulled a small velvet box from his tuxedo jacket. The crowd leaned in. The keys to your new Tesla Model S Plaid. A wave of applause and envious gasps swept the room. The key fob, sleek and white, glittered under the chandeliers. A $130,000 car for a woman who already had a Porsche. Chloe floated to the microphone, her smile a weapon of mass admiration. Thank you, Daddy. She held the keys aloft like a trophy. The photographer my parents had hired, of course they'd hired a photographer, captured the moment from every angle. But that's not all, my mother chimed in, joining them on the dais. She produced a long, legal-sized envelope from her clutch. Inside this envelope is the deed to your new home. A $13 million penthouse in Tribeca. 4 bedrooms, a private terrace, and a view of the city you are destined to conquer. $13 million. The number hung in the air, suffocating me. That money could fund art programs for every underfunded school in the borough. It could provide therapy for thousands of children. Instead, it would house one person who already had everything. Chloe hugged them, and the room erupted in applause that felt like a physical assault. I stood in my corner, invisible, holding my champagne flute so tightly I feared the stem would snap. This is the part where I need to ask you, if this story is resonating with you, if you've ever felt overlooked or undervalued, please show your support by hitting that subscribe and like button. It tells the algorithm that stories like this matter, and it helps us reach more people who need to hear them. Thank you. This Tesla is just the beginning of what you deserve, Chloe. My father boomed into the microphone. His words were arrows, each one finding its mark in the heart of the daughter he'd forgotten. The man in the charcoal suit moved closer, a steady, deliberate drift through the sea of people. My phone buzzed again. The real show starts in 5 minutes. Don't sign anything. Sign anything? What could I possibly have to sign? Hannah. My mother's voice cut through my thoughts, sharp and sweet as poison candy. Come here, please. We need you on stage. Chloe held the microphone like a scepter. I want to thank everyone for celebrating with us, she began, her voice dripping with false humility. Success isn't easy. It takes dedication, ambition, and the courage to reach for more than. She paused, her eyes, cold and brilliant, locking onto mine. More than finger painting and participation trophies. A nervous titter rippled through the crowd. Someone muttered, she's not wrong. Some people, Chloe continued, her gaze sweeping over me, are content with mediocrity. They find comfort in small lives, small dreams, small paychecks. And that's fine. The world needs people to teach children their ABCs, while others of us shape the very laws of the land. My cheeks burned. 200 pairs of eyes politely looked away while staring directly at me. But tonight isn't about those who settle, Chloe said, raising her glass. It's about excellence. Excuse me. The man in the charcoal suit stepped forward. The crowd parted for him as if he commanded an invisible force field. He was older than I'd thought, perhaps in his late 70s, with eyes that had seen decades of truth and deception. I apologize for the interruption, he said, his voice a low, calm river flowing through the tense room. My name is Arthur Pendleton. I was your grandfather's attorney and confidant for 40 years. My father's face lost its color. My mother's champagne flute trembled. I have something that needs to be addressed tonight, Arthur continued, pulling a weathered leather portfolio from inside his jacket. before any more announcements are made. Chloe's frozen smile didn't reach her eyes. I don't think this is the time. Oh, but I do, Arthur said, his tone leaving no room for argument. In fact, your grandfather insisted. My father recovered, his CEO persona slamming back into place. Arthur, this is a private family celebration. Whatever business you have can wait until Monday. Actually, it can't, Arthur replied, his gaze sweeping over my parents and then settling on me. Especially considering what you're about to do. My parents exchanged a look, a flash of pure, undiluted panic. Arthur opened the portfolio. This is the last will and testament of Samuel Wells, signed and notarized on January 12, 2014, in the presence of 3 witnesses. The will you probated was a forgery, Richard. A sloppy one at that. The ballroom went dead silent. You could have heard a diamond drop. That's impossible. My father spat, but the crack in his voice betrayed him. Your father knew you, Richard. He knew your avarice, your need to control his legacy. He knew you would try to cut Hannah out the moment you could. So he instructed me to wait. To wait for the precise moment you would publicly attempt to disinherit and humiliate her. He said, Arthur, wait for the moment their cruelty reaches its peak. That's when you hand them the truth. Arthur turned to me, his eyes kind. He spent the last 10 years of his life documenting your life, Hannah. Not to spy, but to bear witness. He hired investigators to document every award you won that your parents ignored. Every life you changed. He has files, Hannah. Thick ones. He pulled out a binder, easily 4 inches thick, and placed it on the podium with a heavy thud. Shall we read Article 7? Chloe, her legal training kicking in, stepped forward. I want to see authentication. Notary seals, witness signatures. This could be a fabrication. Spoken like a true lawyer, Arthur said, almost approvingly. He produced another folder, filled with certified documents. The seal from the New York Skagits Court, the witness affidavits from a sitting federal judge, and the head of pediatric oncology at New York Presbyterian. It's all here, Chloe. It's all very, very real. He opened the thick binder. Article 7. Conditions of inheritance. I, Samuel Wells, being of sound mind, declare that my estate shall pass to the granddaughter who demonstrates genuine service to humanity, measured not by wealth or academic pedigree, but by verifiable, documented impact on the lives of others. He began to read from a summary page. Hannah Wells. 8 National Education Excellence Awards. 3-time Teacher of the Year. Founder of Colorful Minds, an art therapy program serving over 600 children with disabilities across 5 boroughs. Published in the Journal of Child Psychology and Art. Letters of gratitude from 243 families, independently verified. Tears I could no longer control streamed down my face. He knew. He saw me. Arthur then opened a second, much thinner folder. Chloe Wells. Yale Law, summa cum laude. Starting salary, $450,000. He paused, letting the number hang in the air. Mandatory pro bono hours required by the State Bar, 50. No voluntary community service beyond what was required for her resume. In 2021, she organized a charity auction for a children's hospital. Raised $30,000. Charged the hospital a $15,000 administrative fee. The crowd gasped. That was for my time. Chloe protested, her voice shrill. From a children's cancer ward, Arthur stated flatly. Your grandfather found that particularly illustrative. He held up the 2 binders. One granddaughter has built a legacy of compassion. The other, a monument to herself. The will is clear. But there's more, Arthur said, his voice dropping, forcing everyone to lean in. The humility provision. A clause stating that if any beneficiary attempts to coerce another into forfeiting their inheritance, the coercing party forfeits their entire share. And if this coercion is done publicly, the forfeited share transfers immediately to the wronged party, activating a separate, $15 million emergency trust. He looked at my parents, then at Chloe. You called Hannah to this stage to sign a waiver in front of 200 witnesses. The coercion is documented. The emergency trust was transferred to Hannah's name 30 minutes ago. My father sank into a chair. My mother began to cry, ugly, heaving sobs that ruined her makeup. Chloe stood frozen, her perfect world shattering around her. The company, the properties, the assets, Arthur said, all transfer to Hannah. Your grandfather's final wish was that she convert it into a foundation for art therapy and special education. You won't believe what happens next. The way Hannah handles her victory is a lesson in grace and power. If you're invested in this story of justice, please share this video with someone who needs to see it. Your share could inspire someone to hold on for their own breakthrough. And don't go anywhere. Subscribe and ring the bell because the final act is the most satisfying part. The room was in chaos. My family was exposed, broken. I looked at them. My father, a deflated titan. My mother, a ruined socialite. My sister, a golden child whose gold was peeling away to reveal cheap metal underneath. I walked to the podium. The room fell silent again. I accept the inheritance, I said, my voice clear and steady, echoing in the vast ballroom. All of it. And I accept grandfather's vision. The Wells fortune will become the Samuel Wells Foundation for Art and Healing. I turned to Chloe. You want to learn what real success is? You'll start Monday at my school. You'll be a teacher's aide. You'll make a teacher's salary. You'll wipe noses, clean paint spills, and you will learn that a child's smile is a greater victory than any court case. Chloe, humbled and broken, simply nodded. Yes. I looked at my parents. You will have a modest allowance. The Hampton estate becomes a retreat for children in the foster system. The penthouse is sold, and the proceeds fund the foundation. My father looked at me, and for the first time, I saw not disappointment, but awe. You were never the failure, Hannah. I was. 6 months later, the foundation was thriving. Chloe, after a rocky start, discovered a passion for working with nonverbal children, using art to help them find their voice. She drives a used Toyota and says she's never been happier. My parents volunteer 3 days a week, reading to children and finally understanding that a paint-stained smock can be a badge of honor. I still teach at PS 47. My classroom is now overflowing with supplies, and every child knows their creativity is valued. The money didn't change me. It empowered me. My grandfather didn't leave me a fortune. He left me the tools to build a legacy of compassion. He knew that the greatest inheritance isn't wealth, but the wisdom to use it to light up the world. If this story of quiet strength and ultimate vindication inspired you, I have one final request. Please subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments, what is one dream you're quietly nurturing that the world doesn't see? Your story matters. Thank you for watching, for believing in second acts, and for being part of this community. Remember, your worth is not for others to decide.